Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Paper Pleats and Ribbon Roses. Today I'd like to show you some of the methods that I use to dye one of our new products, which is a Color Ready seam binding. I was really excited to see this product since I've been using some other company seam binding. I think it's great for cards. Anyway, I did this card using one of the new paper packs called Florentine from the Spring and Summer 2012 Idea Book. And I took some of the Color Ready seam binding and colored it with garden green and wrinkled it up somewhat so that I could create this bow on this card. So there are a number of different methods that you can use to color the ribbon, and this is it here, Color Ready seam binding, and it's white, and you can use it just white if you want to, or you can color it to match any of your paper packs that we have. Now I'm using so you'll need your seam binding. You'll need a re-inker for this method and one of the other methods. However, we can do it without re-inker. And I'm using isopropyl alcohol, or 70% alcohol that you can just get at your drugstore. And I'm using alcohol instead of water because I just find that the results are much more consistent, and the seam binding seems to hold the color better than when you use the water. Now you also need, excuse me, I forgot to put one of these out. You'll need a latex glove if you don't want colored hands when you go out. So just to show you on when I was trying out the different concentrations of re-inker to rubbing alcohol, I came up with different shades here. So with a proportion of 4 parts rubbing alcohol to 1 part garden green re-inker, I got quite a dark green, and it's more like a New England ivy, so that's not a very good proportion. Plus I find that the color comes off when you use that much dye. The one that I found that colored the ribbon most closely to our colors was 8 parts alcohol to 1 part re-inker, which gave me this color, which I really liked, and that's the color that I used on my card. And then I just diluted it even more to see, and I got a fairly light color, which was 12 parts alcohol to 1 part garden green. Bottom line is you're just going to have to play around with it. I cut short pieces about 6 to 8 inches long and test it out to make sure I'm getting the color that I want. Now, so the first thing you do is, well, not the first thing, but I'm just going to put on now, is I buy a box of the cheap latex gloves at the department store, and take your spray pen. This is a close to my heart spray pen, and I really like these because they have marks or lines on the side so that you can use these to help you measure. So you just fill up to the 8th line with rubbing alcohol, and then drop your re-inker drop by drop until you get up to the 9th line with re-inker. All right, so I cut about a meter length of ribbon. I'm just going to take this and put it out of the way. Now I will tell you that normally I do this in a cardboard box when I use my spray pen, just so that it doesn't get all over the place. I'm going to try to do it on my table here today so that I can film this properly. Now I've just used a piece of parchment paper, which is heat and moisture resistant. There are some great craft mats out there that are heat resistant. I just don't happen to have one, so this works. You could use foil as well if you wanted to. So I like this ribbon wrinkled, so I don't worry too much about scrunching it up. If you don't want it wrinkled after you dry it, and you can always iron it. So all I do is, make sure you're pointing in the right direction, is spray while I'm holding it in my hand with the glove. and really smush it around in your hand so that you can see that it's even. Now I'm seeing that this is coming out fairly light, so it's interesting. I think that even different colors possibly give you slightly different results, so you may have to play around with that. But at least 8-to-1 is a bit of a benchmark. So I'm going to turn on this heat gun. I'm sorry, it's probably going to be really loud. So if you want your ribbon to be nice and wrinkled, which you can see this is now, just keep scrunching it as you dry it. And just sort of let it go. It's quite easy and doesn't really take that long. You can see the colors changing already. It was a little bit yellowy at first. Normally what I do is I do this in the cardboard box, and then I just sort of throw the ribbon into the corner and point the heat gun at it and until it dries. But as you can see, I got a nice consistent coloring with the alcohol. It's not rubbing off on my fingers, and here is the cotton candy. So it matched quite well at this concentration. Excuse me. So that's one method. I better hurry up here. The second method is if you don't have a spray pen, you can put the rubbing alcohol and the re-inker in a baggie. It's the equivalent of 8-to-1 from the spray pen is 1 teaspoon of 1 teaspoon of rubbing alcohol and about 24 drops of re-inker. And you just mix it up together in here. You open it up and put your piece of ribbon in and smush it all around. I'm not going to do it today just because I'm trying to try save some time. But you just smush it all around, take it out, and then dry it. You can either air dry it or dry it with your heat gun. Another way to do it, if you don't have re-inkers, and I know that some people don't, you can use your ink pad. Now this one doesn't involve any, it does involve some rubbing alcohol. So you need your ink pad and you need a spray pen that is filled with rubbing alcohol. So all you do on your craft mat is you just ink it up on both sides. Now you see I'm also getting ink on the mat, which is good, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the hole. There we go. Spray a little bit of rubbing alcohol on there, and I'm going to pick up that extra ink that ended up on my parchment paper, and I'm just going to, this helps, spraying it with the rubbing alcohol sets it a little better, and it also gives you the opportunity to give it a more even finish. So again, excuse the noise, I'm just going to quickly heat that. It's not quite dry, but it's not bad. And there you go. You have another piece of colored ribbon that you don't require a spray pen, and you can or re-inker, and you can just use your ink pad directly and some rubbing alcohol. Now the last method that I want to show you is direct to the ribbon with ink and a sponge. Now I'm using a sponge dauber. You can use a piece of sponge, any kind of sponge to do this. So you just get some ink in your sponge and you just rub it on. Okay, I already started this one earlier. So depending upon how dark you want it, although there is sort of a limit to how dark you can get it. This method, your ribbon stays very flat, and I usually rub it on both sides. It will fade a little bit over time. So I haven't had time to really test these long enough because we haven't had them long enough. I'm only going to use them on cards at the moment because I want to see about the longevity of the dye being held in the ribbon. I found that with the water and the re-inker, it didn't hold the dye properly. So I'm hoping that with the rubbing alcohol it will. So you just keep rubbing this on. I wouldn't recommend this method if you were trying to do a meter. The spray pen works much faster and I really like the results. So if you're just doing a short piece, this works really well. And what you can also do with this method is you can introduce more than one color and you can sponge on and blend in other colors over the length of your ribbon. So I think that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial and play around with different colors and color the ribbons whatever color you like. Thanks and have a great day.